In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, welcome to another session of Finding God with a brief hiatus of 2 weeks or something. But I'm glad I'm back in business. Today, we will be talking about chapter 73, which is Surah Al-Anbiya. Before I do so, may I wish everyone a belated Eid, Kurban Bayram Mubarak olsun, as they say in Turkish. And I hope it went well for everyone celebrating. For those who don't know, there are two celebrations. Perhaps I already mentioned this, but let me mention it briefly again. There are two celebrations that Muslims have throughout the year. Two big ones, and they're called Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. And one is celebrated at the end of the holy month of Ramadan, and the other is celebrated a day after the big pilgrimage, which is the Hajj, where people from all across the world travel to Mecca and they perform certain rites and duties that they're supposed to perform. And it is incumbent upon all Muslims to perform the Hajj if they are capable of doing so. And this Hajj, somebody very close to me also went and completed their Hajj, and I'm very proud of them with their family. And my parents were fortunate enough to do it a few years ago, and then they've done it before. It's become a gigantic tourist and religious exercise. So it is a big thing, and I hope I get to do it next year or the year after or soon. Soon, I hope I can do it in the next couple of years. That would be something. In fact, while I'm saying this, I'm thinking maybe I should do it 2 years from now, when I turn 40. I think that could be something really nice. So today, chapter 73, we are going to be talking about Surah Al-Anbiya, which is translated into the prophets. Now, last session, I was talking about Abraham, the grandfather Abraham. I was talking about him, and since then, if you recall from that chapter, not a lot was mentioned from Abraham. Briefly, the story came in, which is so beautiful because this is the subsequent chapter. And in this chapter, you won't see it this week because it starts at verse 50. But from verse 50 on till verse 70 or 80, there's a story of Abraham. Or maybe even longer. There's a whole story of Abraham in detail. So this is the beauty. First, it was sprinkled, and now it goes into further detail. Without further ado, let me start on it, and then I'll ponder and pontificate on the subject matter. Let me just write something. Give me 1 second. I know I just have to write it to have it in plan. Because when I will be doing this chapter, it is important. Now, what's that? Here we go. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. I like the sentence structure, how it's being used. I just want to see if there are any gigantic footnotes. Now, draws near for mankind their reckoning while they turn away in heedlessness. True. Comes not unto them an admonition, which is a chapter from the Quran, from their Lord as a recent revelation, but they listen to it while they play. Interesting. While their hearts occupied with evil things, those who do wrong conceal their private counsels, saying, is this Muhammad more than a human being like you? Will you submit to magic while you see it? This is interesting. the structure is very interesting. Why is it written this way? Let me read the Arabic part of it, as if I understand it fluently. I don't, but I can at least read it and understand parts of it. Um, this is a very interesting structure. I didn't expect the structure to be like this. You see, it's not clear, although the chapter is structured in the same ring structure. It starts with one, then goes to the other, then comes back full circle. But this sentence structure puzzles me a little. With their hearts occupied with evil things, those who do wrong conceal their private counsels, saying, is this, Muhammad, more than a human being like you? Will you submit to magic while you see it? Let's carry on. Maybe it contextualizes itself. And then the prophet says, he said, my Lord knows every word spoken in the heavens and on the earth and on earth, and he is the all-hearer, the all-knower. Okay. Will you submit to magic while you see it? My Lord, it hears everything. Okay. Kind of answers it, yes. Nay, they say, these revelations of the Quran are mixed up false dreams. Nay, he has invented them. Nay, he is a poet. Let him then bring us an ayah or a verse or sign as a proof like the ones the previous prophets, the formers, were sent with. Oh, interesting. That's why this is talking about the other prophets. Because, look, this didn't exist at that time. We are probably looking at 620 AD, 619 AD. There was no paper. There was papyrus, maybe, or papyrus, as some people call it. There were some parchments, some text written. Otherwise, it was all here. It was all collected. Now, maybe in Greece, there might be some writing, but it was a heavily oral tradition here. And when it's an oral tradition, it's less about show me, it's more about let me hear it or bring us that sort of an evidence. And evidence is done through argumentation. Which is why I always say to people, if you're trying to do a literal reading of the Quran, it is insufficient. Perhaps your cognitive capacity is that which can only do a literal reading of the Quran. And if that is the case, I encourage you to expand your cognitive capacity. It's in your hands. You're not bound with it because it is an evidence based on an oral tradition. There are no diagrams in the Quran, it's just words expressed through poetry. And the reason why it's expressed through poetry is because poetry can have multiple meanings or multiple interpretations. That's why it's poetry. Otherwise, it could be just prose. And poetry is recited in a manner, whereas prose is read no more often than not. Therefore, it enters parts of you which prose may not be able to. I mean, I've made this case before. So when it says bring us evidence like the ones the former ones were sent with, it makes sense where they say, okay, well, Moses used to say this, and Jesus said this, and Noah said this. Well, what do you say? Do you have something on your side? It's that sort of an argumentation here. No one of the towns, populations of those which we destroyed believed before them, though we send them the signs, will they then believe? It's the same story. It's the story today. We have, let's consider the Muslim perspective. We have nearly 2 billion Muslims, if not more. They are spreading the same, if not a very similar message to each other. I'm accounting for the subdivisions in Islam as well. But they do hold Muhammad, peace be upon him, in high regard. They're monotheistic and so on and so forth. They're spreading that message. Yet, there's so many naysayers, populations and billions, or at least millions upon millions of people who are naysayers. You can make the same argument with any religion when it's spreading itself. There are people who are refusing it. And the signs are shown. You see, that's what I'm saying. Signs are shown. rather than, well, we did an experiment and then we falsified it and then we wrote it in our notes and then we proved it to the clergy and then we proved it to the intelligentsia. That's not the case. The case simply is you show science and you make argumentation because it is an oral tradition, not a written one. That's what's remarkably different, because now we have everything written. I'm reading from a digital written framework. So that's something I think we kind of miss today. We don't understand. We could say, well, why didn't he just do this? Well, because at that time, these were the methods. You play with the gifts the gods give you, as Odysseus says. And we sent not before you, Muhammad, but men to whom we revealed. So ask the people of the reminder, the Torah, the gospel, if you do not know. And we did not create them, the messengers, with bodies that ate not food, nor were they immortals. I think the sentence structure of this chapter is a bit complicated. So I'm going to read what's written first, and then I'm going to simplify it. And we created them with bodies that ate food and were not immortal. That's what this verse is saying. But it's written in a manner. So, and we sent not before you, but men to whom we revealed. So ask the people of the reminder if you do not know. See, the structure is slightly complicated. Then we fulfill to them the promise, so we saved them and those whom we willed, but we destroyed al-Musrifun, which is the disbelievers, transgressors of God's limits by committing crimes. Yes. Indeed, we have sent down for you, O mankind, a book, this book, in which there is dhikrukum, your reminder or honor, or an honor for you, honor for the one who follows the teaching of the Quran and acts on its teaching. But you not understand. I just want to make sure that I said it correctly, because the English writing is different. Yeah, zikrukum. Okay, I said it correct. Because it says DH in English, but if you read it in Arabic, it's a Z. It sounds like a Z. Will you not then understand how many a town given to wrongdoing have we destroyed and raised up after them and other people? This is interesting. The same sort of verse was mentioned just slightly above. Here, number 6, towns or populations were destroyed. And now again it's mentioned, how many a town given to wrongdoing have we destroyed? Interesting. Then when they saw our torment coming, behold, they tried to flee from it. Flee not, but return to that wherein you lived a luxurious life, and to your homes, in order that you may be questioned. Look, we're short-sighted. We're always afraid. I am not thinking every day, what if a gunman shows up and forces me to do this or that? But if a gunman or gun person, so to speak, shows up, tries to force me to do something, I'd most likely do it, unless it's renouncing my faith. But even that is allowed, by the way. Or doing something harmful to my parents or family. It's when the torment comes, the fear is understandable. God is using that as an example. They try to flee from it. Flee not, but return to that wherein you lived a luxurious life, and to your homes, in order that you may be questioned. They cried, woe to us, certainly we have been Zalimun, the polytheists, the wrongdoers, and that cry of theirs ceased not till we made them as a field that is reaped, extinct. Woohoo! This verse is intense, huh? And then we made them as a field that is reaped. Ooh, grown and then wow. Ooh, that is intense. We created all the heavens and the earth and all that is between them for a mere play. We did not create the heavens and earth and everything in between just to play. That's what it is. Had we intended to take a pastime, a wife or a son, we could surely have taken it from us if we were going to do that. How interesting. God is, see, multiple things are happening. So what I believe, and there are scholars that will support this point, is that the pagans of Mecca at that time were not just throwing one critique towards Prophet Muhammad. They were sending 10,000 different ones. What about this? And what about this? And what about this? And what about that? In the Quran, they're only mentioning the critique of, well, if you are somebody we should trust, why didn't you bring us something like Moses, Noah, Jesus, Adam, Abraham, and so forth? They're saying those sort of stuff. But there were probably others. Oh, where is your God then? How big is he? Does he have long hair? Does he have a wife or kid? Why doesn't he have a wife or kid? Are the angels his daughter? Those sorts of things. So in the middle of a verse, something is put in. Something is put in. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again with utmost clarity. Not all verses are revealed at the same time. So if you look at Noldic, or if you look at Tanzil.net, or if you look at the scholars that that have documented the revelation order, which I follow, if you look at those scholars, you'll see that there are sections which says all verses except number 38, which was revealed later, number 30. And then once the whole Quran was revealed, with Gabriel and Prophet Muhammad, God ordered a certain order of the Quran. And that's why sometimes a prose is flowing and suddenly a verse comes in and you say, well, where did this come from? But it is, I would argue, and I would encourage you to consider that perhaps it is our weakness in reading that quality of prose, because we might be used to, oh, this is the meter, and now we'd have two verses which are the same, then one which is opposite, and the fourth which is the same, because that's the order of the stanza. But here, it's a very long, complicated poem. Each chapter is a long poem. So there, when you throw something in the middle, it doesn't make sense. And you say, whoa, where did that come from? But that's precisely why. So, because, for example, you see, they're talking about people who are crying and people are worried. Oh, there's a big torment. And then the cries did not cease. And we made them into a field. We created everything between the heaven and the earth. And if we wanted to take a pastime, we could have, but if we wanted to. And you say, well, wait, you were just talking about those people. Why are you talking about this? That's the complexity of the poetry, because while saying that we created not the heavens and the earth, that is between them for mere play, it ties to play on God's part too. You see, a wife or a son as a pastime, as we didn't create all of this just for enjoyment. And if we wanted enjoyment, we could have done it for ourselves. You know what I mean? It's one narrative and something else tied to it thematically. It's beautifully written. Oh, what a writer. What a great writer. Nay, we send down the truth, the Quran, against the falsehood, so it destroys it, and behold, it is vanished. And woe to you for that lie which you ascribe to God by uttering that God has a wife and a son. See, you see what I mean? This is what I'm saying. So there were multiple insults being hurled at Prophet Muhammad all the time from different angles. And what we know of his personality, does it seem like he would be the sort of person to say, well, I'm rubber and you're glue, or just forth with people? No. He has nearly the patience of Job, if not more. He has the grace of Jesus Christ, and he has the wisdom of Abraham and Moses and so many others, right? So, sorry, something's glitching with my... Is something glitching? No, it's all right. So he has all that wisdom. So no, he wouldn't go back and forth. So God does it for him. In the verses, God gives the reasoning. To him belongs whosoever is in the heavens and on the earth, and those who are near him, the angels, are not too proud to worship him, nor are they weary of his worship. They, the angels, glorify his praises night and day, and they never slacken to do so. Or have they taken for worship other gods, or Aliha, from the earth, who raise the dead? Had there been therein, in the heavens and the earth, Aliha, other gods besides God, then verily both would have been ruined. Glorified be God, the Lord of the throne. High is he above all that evil they associate with him. It's interesting because there is a state of mind I suppose in Buddhism they talk about it a lot more, because in Islam we talk about prayer as duty. But I would I would not be beyond believing. Sorry, that's a whole lot of British English, but I would not be beyond believing um, that there is a level of worship where worship starts becoming enjoyment. I wonder, because the angels, with all their grace and power, are constantly in worship, constantly supplicating, constantly saying the names of God, constantly, constantly just behaving that way. And we in our literature, medieval, ancient, or even modern, we always compare ourselves to beasts and angels. So we aspire to something which we assume to be angelic. And I have a feeling that there is a there's a level of worship where it stops being just duty and it starts becoming something that you embody and enjoy, and then you tap into the divine unity of it all, which is our Lord. It's just a digression, but it's just something that I think about sometimes. He cannot be questioned as to what he does, while they will be questioned, or have they taken for worship other gods beside him. Say, bring your proof. This, the Quran, is the reminder for those with me and the reminder for those before me, but most of them know not the truth, so they are averse. And we did not send any messengers before you, but we revealed to him, La ilaha illa ana. No, I have to say it correctly. The English one, sorry, I have to forgive myself. Forgive me. Illa ana fa'abdu. None has the right to be worshipped but I, so worship me, which is God, alone and none else. And they say the most gracious has begotten a son or children. See, I'm telling you, these were the critiques that were being thrown, and Muhammad, peace be upon him, is not the sort of person to get into an argument. I always do this putative exercise, and I encourage you to do it too, whether you're Christian, Muslim, Jew, or whichever faith you follow, or if you're agnostic or atheist. Try to put Moses in the place of Muhammad, peace be upon him, or Jesus, or Abraham, or David. Try to put David in the place of Prophet Muhammad, and you'll see. Oh, will he take all of that? Will he be so patient, or would he react? Oh, Moses. Moses is the perfect example. Imagine if big, tall Moses was in the place of Prophet Muhammad at that time. And the pagans of Mecca were saying these things. Oh, your Lord has a wife, your Lord has children. God forbid. The behavior would be so much different. But that is precisely why it has to be Muhammad. That is precisely why this faith has to be brought forth by Muhammad, peace be upon him. That's what I'm saying. That's the argument we make. And they say the most gracious has begotten a son or children, glory to him. They whom they call children of God, i.e., the angels, like I said, daughters, or Jesus, son of Mary, Ezra, are but honored slaves. They speak not until he has spoken, and they act on his command. He knows what is before them and what is behind them, and they cannot intercede except for him with whom he is pleased. And they stand in awe for fear him. Oh, interesting. The fear still exists no matter how close you are. Well, obviously it is God. And I imagine because I don't spend a lot of time in conspiracy theories. I spend a lot of time in imagining what it's like, because I'm a theologian at the end of the day. I I love God. I worship God. I I kiss the ground that God has created. Um, and I try to imagine, because in Islam we say Ayat al Kursi. There's a kursi. He has a chair, but it's not really a chair. It's a throne, and um, his glory is manifested on it, or through it, or above it. And I always imagine that if man is this small, then the angel is gigantic compared to man, and the chair is gigantic compared to the angel. The scale of things. And I always imagine just looking up and looking at the majesty of our Lord. I always, there's the things I think about all the time. Um, that's why they stand in awe for fear of him. And if any of them should say, "Verily, I am a God besides him. Such a one we should recompense with hell. Thus we recompense the Zalimun, the polytheists, and the wrongdoers. Have not those who disbelieve known that the heavens and the earth were joined together as one united piece? Then we parted them, and we have made from water every living thing. Will they not then believe? Oh, interesting. Have not those who disbelieve known that the heavens and the earth were joined together as one united piece? We parted them anyway. See, this is why I always say, that if you're going to question the source, sorry, I have to add this. I can't believe I didn't add this. It's part one. It's not just that directly. Science has said this now. But imagine this book came out a millennia and a half ago, roughly. And it is said that the earth and the heaven were the same and we parted them. At that time, we didn't have these instruments that we do now. Knowing this is, what can it be if not divine? I always wonder. Then people start saying, oh, maybe the book is doctored, maybe it was rewritten later and so forth. Oh, because we have copies of it. We have copies of the truth that has existed for hundreds of years, thousands of years. No, 1,000 years, hundreds of years. So, and we placed on the earth firm mountains, lest it should shake with them, and we placed therein broad highways for them to pass through, that they may be guided. And we have made the heaven a roof, safe and well guarded, yet they turn away from its signs, the sun, moon, winds, clouds. And he, it is who has created, the night and the day and the sun and the moon, each in an orbit floating. And we granted not to any human being immortality before you, Muhammad. Then if you die, would they live forever? Oh, okay. Before you, it doesn't imply that Muhammad has it. Maybe that's a misinterpretation that some people certainly have. But it says, and even before you, we didn't grant any immortality. Then if you die, would they live forever? That's the argument that's being made. Okay. Everyone is going to taste death, and we shall make a trial of you with evil and with good, and to us you will be returned. That's why you will hear a lot of Muslims and even Christians. I'm not as well versed in the Jewish faith, but Muslims and Christians would certainly say that the soul doesn't belong to us. First, we will say that there is a soul, which maybe atheists won't. And secondly, we will say, well, it doesn't belong to us. It belongs to God. And to him it will always return, which is here. And when those who disbelieved see you, Muhammad, they take you not except for mockery, saying, is this the one who talks badly about your gods? While they disbelieve at the mention of the most gracious. Man is created of haste. I will show you my verses. So ask me not to hasten them. Man is created of haste. What does that mean? Does that simply mean that man is impatient? Now, it doesn't mean that God created man hastily, because God is beyond time. So the emphasis of time or the understanding of time doesn't exist. Man is created of haste. That's true. Man is impatient. I certainly am. Okay. And they say, when will this promise come to pass if you're truthful? Again with the challenges. If only those who disbelieve knew the time when they will not be able to ward off the fire from their faces nor from their backs, and they will not be helped. Nay, it will come upon them all of a sudden and will perplex them, and they will have no power to avert it, nor will they get respite. Indeed, many messengers were mocked before you, Muhammad, but the scoffers were surrounded by that wherein they used to mock. Say, who can guard and protect you in the night or in the day from the punishment of the most gracious God? Nay, but they turn away from the remembrance of their Lord. Or have they, Aliha, the other gods, who can guard them from us. They have no power to help themselves, nor can they be protected from us, from our torment. That's true. This is, I think, in a few verses, which I'll do next week, they talk about Abraham. This is what is being talked about, because Abraham said to his father, well, I don't know who destroyed all these idols. Well, he has the big axe on his shoulder. Why don't you ask him? An idol, by definition, is an idol, is a statue. They can't get up and start influencing things. By we, I mean human beings, if we are polytheistic and if we are idol worshippers, we ascribe them value. Otherwise, objects are objects at the end of the day. We ascribe them value. They don't have powers of their own. We ascribe them value, right? It becomes a confirmation bias. That's why I say people who believe that the amethyst crystal or the diamond or the ruby or whatever, or the emerald works, it will work on them. And those who don't believe it works, it will not work on them. Because when you wear the crystal, say, oh, suddenly I have developed these great powers of talismanic grandeur or whatever. But it's here. So the idols also, this is the idol, and you believe, oh, this is the Lord, so that becomes the Lord. Otherwise, it's an idol. Nay, we give the luxuries of this life to these men and their fathers until their period grew long for them. See, they don't see that we gradually reduce the land in their control from its outlying borders. Is it then they who will overcome? I just want to look at this footnote if there's anything in detail. Yes, it explains this part. See they not that we gradually reduce the land of disbelievers by giving it to the believers in war victories from its outlying borders, and God judges, there is none to put back his judgment, and he is swift and great. Yeah, so when the borders are reduced, that's what I thought as well. They were probably referring to war. Say, O Muhammad, I warn you only by the revelation from God and not by the opinion of the religious scholars and others, but the deaf who follow the religious scholars and others blindly will not hear the call, even when they are warned. One should follow only the Quran and the Sunnah, which is the legal ways, the orders, acts of worship, and the statements of, this is extra. Okay. This is an explanation. I always say, if you're reading with me, just read the parts that I'm reading out, because the brackets are extra, therefore understanding. And if a breath, minor calamity of the torment of your Lord touches them, they will surely cry, woe unto us! Indeed, we have been Zalimun, the polytheists and wrongdoers, and we shall set up balances of justice on the day of resurrection. Then none will be dealt with unjustly in anything, and if there be the weight of a mustard seed, we will bring it. Mustard seed. And sufficient are we to take account. And indeed, we granted to Moses and Aaron the criterion of right or wrong and a shining light, the Torah, the Old Testament, and a reminder for al-muttaqun, those who fear the Lord without seeing him, and they are afraid of the hour. And this is a blessed reminder which we have sent down. Will you then dare to deny it? I'll stop here. But I love how Moses and Aaron are mentioned, because here, if you see, Abraham starts. Just the next story is Abraham, the next verse. But I'll jump onto that verse next week. Thank you so much for your time. Look, talk about the prophets, because contextually it makes sense. It is useful for Prophet Muhammad's arguments, and it's also useful for us to put him in the current context and tie him to members of the faith or leaders of the faith that have existed in the past. So it's incredibly useful. But I will expand on this next week. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful weekend, and I shall see you next